started with our lesson this morning. The title of our lesson is Dealing with Wicked Rulers. Our text is 1 Kings chapter 20, verses 1 through chapter 22, verse 53, 2 Chronicles chapter 17, verse 1 through chapter 20, verse 37. But our focus is 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 1 through 4, verse 7, verses 12 through 25. Our key verse is 1 Kings 21, 19. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, And the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. In application, the student will realize the consequences of sins, and choose to confess them to the Lord. Searching the text, Naboth's vineyard, 1 Kings chapter 21, starting at verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab the king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thine vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. Jezebel's evil, verse 7. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. They proclaimed a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. There came two men, children of Belial, and sat before him, and the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth does blaspheme God, and the king, I know it says something, and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones, that he died. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned, and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money. For Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, to take possession of it. The Lord's judgment, verse 17. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, In the place where the dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall the dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baashiah, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, The dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that died of Ahab in the city the dogs shall eat, and him that died in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the reading of God's Word this morning? Now, there's lots of things here to think about. Lots of information, and so we'll do our best. And if you've got an opinion, if you've got a thought, if you've got something you want to say, go ahead and add it in, because this lesson is kind of a tough lesson, and some people might say, well, it doesn't have any concern to us. It doesn't apply to us because this is something that happened to them. But we still see these same things going on today in some shape, form, or fashion. And so it's still meaningful to get the full meaning of this lesson. Now, we kind of have to give a little bit of information here to fill in some gaps. Ahab is in a situation where he took over the kingdom from his father, and his father had established the fact that the kingdom was going to be ruled from Samaria. Now remember, Israel has split, the whole nation of Israel has split into Israel and Judah. And there's one king over Judah, and there's one king over Israel. And the kingdom of Judah is set up in Jerusalem, but the kingdom of Israel kind of floats around depending on where the ruler is. And at one time it was in a different city, and the palace there was burned down by the king whenever it was attacked by one of the other tribes of Judah. Attacked him, and he burned the whole palace down on top of him. And since that palace was gone, Ahab's father built a palace on top of a hill in Samaria that he bought from a man, and built the palace there. And when he dies, Ahab takes over the palace. But also understanding that the entire country of Israel, every bit of it, including Judah, was broken down and sectioned off for the families inside of each tribe. They were all given a portion of land that was theirs. And if you go back to Numbers, it was said in Numbers toward the end of the chapter that one of the commandments of God concerning the property was it should always be in the family for an inheritance. They should never give it away. They should keep it in the family as an inheritance to their children. So their children would always have a place to live, always have food on the table or land they could work so they could supply things for themselves. It was very important to keep that the way it was. That gives us the understanding why Naboth stood up against Ahab. Now Ahab is the king of all Israel. He has possessions. He has money. He has land that is his. But not just by his birthright, but because he's king, he has access to all these things, and he has a great amount of money, and he has bought land everywhere in all over the place, and he's inherited land. And he's not satisfied with what is his. What he got, he earned through inheritance, which means he did not place a great value on it. Well, how do you know this, Jeff? Because Ahab says to Naboth, he says, look, I see your vineyard over here. It's touching my property. It's right against the palace. And I like the way your property looks. I like the way all this vineyard is laid out. Why don't you just give it to me so I can make an herb garden out of it? And if you won't give it to me, let me just buy it from you. No, you won't let me buy it? Well, I'll tell you, I'll swap you a better piece of property for what you have right here. Much better. Well, if it was so good, why did Ahab want to get rid of it? If it was so good in the first place, why was Ahab wanting to get rid of it? Because it touched his property? Are we so lazy that we can't walk someplace else to have an herb garden? It's an herb garden. It's not like it grows substance. It's not like it grows things that we have to have each and every day. It's for herbs. He just wanted what was touching. And guess what? He would not have been happy if Naboth had sold it to him. He'd want the next property. And he'd want the next piece of property. And the next one, and the next one. He wouldn't be happy until he had it all. We can see that if you read into Ahab's life, you can see that he was never satisfied with what he was given. And Naboth said, no, I can't do that. I'm a servant of the Lord. I'm a child of God. I can't give up my property because it's of my inheritance. My forefathers had it before me, and the law says I have to keep it. Plus, I want to keep it. It's mine. And what does Ahab do? What do we all do? He pouts. He openly pouts. The king of Israel pouts. Goes to his bed, turns his back to everybody outside, facing the wall, and he pouts. And he won't eat anything because he's pouting. And his wife comes in and says, "Why are you pouting?" "Because Naboth won't let me have his property." I can hear it. Lips stuck out, little tear running down the side of his face, all pouty face like a little kid. "Because Naboth won't let me buy the property or trade it." So what does Jezebel do? Being the evil, wicked, sinful person that she is, what does she do? "I'll get you the property. I'll get it for you. Watch this." Be careful, mamas. Be careful, dads. Be very careful. "I'll get it for you." What are you going to do? Well, we're going to proclaim a fast. Not a feast, a fast. There's a difference. When they proclaimed the fast was there to kind of, in their mind, figure out who was to blame. Who was to blame? So they set Naboth up on high during the fast. So nobody's allowed to eat anything or drink anything until somebody comes forward and says something either for or against Naboth. And the fast won't end until somebody steps up and says something either for him or against him. And Jezebel knew that, so what she did is she went to these two sons of Belial, and if you don't know who sons of Belial are, they are lazy, lying people. That's what they are. They're lazy, lying people. And so she goes and gets these two sons of Belial to come and falsely accuse Naboth of blaspheming against God and blaspheming against the king. To do either one of those things is instantaneous death. So they hauled him out and they stoned him to death. And they sent word back to Jezebel that he was dead, that Naboth was dead, and that Ahab could take possession of the land. But he had to hurry. He had to take possession of it because he was king, and by king's rights he could declare it his. But if the family stepped in, they could stop it. But she also knew that he didn't have any close family. So now Ahab steps up and he claims possession of the land because of what they claimed was Naboth's sin. But God knows everything. Don't think you're going to get away with anything. God knows everything. So God speaks to Elijah the Tishbite. Y'all remember him? He was the prophet that had the long hair, dressed in camel's hair, kind of like John the Baptist was, but he was a little bit different. He was Elijah. He speaks to him and says, "Go down to see Ahab. This is what's happened. They have falsely accused Naboth, one of my kids, my children. They've killed him and taken possession of the land. And you go down and tell him, I know what's going on and what's going to happen to him." So he gets down there, and the first thing Ahab says when he sees Elijah, he says, "You found me, my enemy." Because he and Elijah go way back. Go back to the prophets of Baal. Go back before that when Ahab's sins were pointed out way early. He says, "You found me." He said, "Yeah, I found you." He said, "But worse than that, God knows who you are." And God said, "Because you have killed this Naboth and you take possession, you killed him and you took possession of what was his, the dogs are going to lick your blood in the place where they licked Naboth's blood." In other words, he says, "Ahab, you're going to die. The dogs are going to lick your blood. They're going to be the only ones who are going to be mourning you." He says, "Not only that, but your wife Jezebel, the dogs are going to eat her. They're going to eat her. And the dogs are going to eat anyone that's from your household. If they live in the wall, if they live in the city's walls, if they're males or females, it doesn't matter. If they live in the city walls, the dogs of the city will eat them. When they die, the dogs will eat them. And if they die out in the field, the birds will eat them. And what kind of curse is that? That's pretty bad. That means you will not have a place where your bones will be. You will not have a tomb. You will not have a tombstone. You will not have a grave. You will not have a place where folks can come by and say, there's old mama. Or there's old Jezebel. There's my daddy, grandpa, whatever. They're gone. There is no existence for them whatsoever. No proof of it. It's gone. That's what God says about them. And the dogs will eat them. The dogs will lick their blood. Something as lowly as a dog. Because dogs scatter bones and they make messes all over the place. And that's all that'll be left of Ahab and Jezebel and all of their families. But what has that got to do with us? God's hand is no shorter today than it was then. We think we get things over on God, we don't. We think we get things over on man, we don't. The blessings that God has given us, we really need to be satisfied with those things. We don't need to covet what somebody else has just because we want it. If God intends for us to have it, He'll make it happen where we can have it. We don't need to set about some trickery or skullduggery or some underhandedness to try to obtain something that is not ours to begin with. Whether it's a position at work, a plot of land, a house, a car, or anything. A position at work. How many people actually stab somebody else in the back and make them look bad so they can take their position at work? I've had it done to me, Brother Doug. I don't like it. It's not good. And I also look at that, Sister Barbie, as well. It wasn't for me to have it in the first place. And I end up, that person always ends up on the bottom. Gone. The old thing that said, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I will repay. That's where that comes from. Don't go meddling in it because God's going to take care of it. Don't become part of the problem because God is going to take care of it. Let Him handle it. It might. Now we notice Ahab dies a while later. Jezebel, it's a while, several years down the road before she's ever gone. But guess what? When God says it, He means it. It may take several days or weeks or months or even years for it to happen, but it's going to happen just like He said. So when we worry about people living in sin and the way they treat us and the things that happen out there, and we say, I don't know, I think something needs to be done to them now. God says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And they may live their whole entire life to be old. But if they never accept the Lord as their Savior, vengeance belongs to God. Because where does that soul go if it never belonged to God in the first place? It goes to hell. So that's worse than even the dogs do. That's where the worm died from. So we don't need to worry about getting somebody back for anything they did against us. We need to let God handle it and put it in God's hands, and it's tough. Oh, is it tough, Jeff? It's tough to put it in God's hands and let Him handle it. But when He handles it, it'll be handled correctly. And in His time and due season. I've got any questions, comments. I've got a few minutes, but